This was originally going to be two separate topics because there's a bunch of people asking me about the current situation with Channel Awesome, and there are also things I need in order to get TJTV up and running again the way I want to get it up and running again. So originally this was going to be two separate videos, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized this is all in the same vein, and I can't address one without addressing the other because frankly, I need to be transparent with you guys on this one. So here's what I'm going to do. If you are here because of what I put in the title description of this video, then go to timestamp right here, and that's where that part of this discussion is going to begin. And if you're here just for that, then I appreciate you greatly, and hopefully you can help me out. But before we get to that, we must get to everything else that has been going on. So, a lot of people have been asking me about what is going on with Channel Awesome, what I think about it, and the whole change the channel movement that's going around on Twitter and social media. Because a lot of people know that, yeah, I was trying to get picked up by that site for a long time. I put in my auditions. I was posting in their forum and their blog section. A lot of people thought I was on That Guy with the Glasses because I was in the blog section when people clicked on my TJTV links. No, that was me trying to get attention, thinking, well, surely they see the numbers in their blog section. They see how many viewers I'm pushing over to their site. That's got to mean something, right? From what I've been hearing in the last few weeks, I don't think they even paid attention to their blog section, let alone paid attention to who might be a worthy pickup out of it. So, yeah. So if you don't know, Channel Awesome, formerly known as That Guy with the Glasses, the site that I was trying to get picked up by for so long, is currently imploding. They have lost almost all of their producers in protest because of years and years of bad business practices, lies, abuse of staff, taking advantage of the staff, and a whole lot of other just grievances. And there's two sides to this, but at the same time, I have a particular insight that I do think kind of lends me to the former producers of this, and for a lot of reasons. But it's just for the start. I do feel like it's unfortunate that it had to come to this. First and foremost, I don't want to see Channel Awesome burn to the ground. I don't want to see Doug and Rob Walker out of a job. I don't want to see any more victims in this situation. It shouldn't have had to come to a situation like this, though. These are basic practices when you are running a business, especially a business that is reliant on content producers that your site caters to. To treat them unfairly, to be unfair when it comes to job retention, to be so strict about it. Famously, producers were fired for being 15 minutes late to a Skype conversation or being 1 day late on a video upload. With no explanation, no second chances, just you're shut out of the system. Which is, unprofessional in every single regard. Beyond that, firing, we have former staff that were fired the day after an operation, and they were asked to drive up to the office against doctor's orders just to be fired in person. Okay, that's lovely. You have very poor working conditions during their crossover shoots and their anniversary films. You have their Kickstarter that brought in $90,000 and no idea where the money went because it was supposed to go to 40 episodes of a game show that they got about 12 episodes made, and that was about it. So where the rest of that money went, no one's really sure. We have a whole lot of accusations of lack of communication, which comes up a lot. And then there are sexual harassment allegations, which one of those was brought up by Sean Faust, who has been a friend of mine for years. And this is where I start to take a lot of this personally. And again, I'm being transparent here. Maybe I'm taking the producer's sides because of that, but you know what? I'm just one of those where you don't screw with my friends. You don't. Like, if you do, you're done. If you don't know what that part of the story was, there's this huge, like, 70-page Google Doc floating around out there. Go check Mars Girl's Twitter account. It's the post to it is somewhere there. She's the one who really does a lot of the updating on this. Her and Obscurus Lupa. Yeah, there's a ton of stories, and they all paint the exact same picture. And if you look at Channel Awesome right now, they have a response to it up, and it is the most hollow, like, lack of evidence counter rebuttal that I've ever seen, because they cherry pick a lot of the situations. They don't answer the entire 70 pages worth of allegations. Some of the major ones they don't even acknowledge. But they do come across a lot of things that they think they have defenses for, but they don't. In the case of the Sean Faust accusations of one of one of the original owners of the site sexually harassing him, in the case of that, what they offer as evidence to disprove the claim actually proves it. Strangely enough, I've known Sean Faust for years. He's not the type to make up something like that. If he says it happened, I believe it happened. And he has witnesses who saw the chat logs. Other people know this happened. So, yeah, at that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with... I regret ever trying to get signed by Channel Awesome. I regret all of it. I regret thinking the world of that place, because all of this is coming out is just so heinous and reprehensible, and I don't think it's a lie. Channel Awesome is trying to paint this picture that everything in this was done maliciously, that this is done in a vindictive attack by former disgruntled producers. If you were there when this started, it doesn't feel that way. None of it does. I saw someone answer a question on Twitter one night about an incident that they had heard about, and then another producer picked up to support them, and then another producer chimed in, and then another story was told, and then another producer corroborated that story and told their own, and it just snowballed into this enormous thing, this Gorgian knot of Twitter threads. The Google Doc is a summation of all of the information, all the stories dumped into there. But the core, the idea of that discussion wasn't to attack Channel Awesome. It was to address a lot of questions from literally hundreds of people. And now the doc is catering to thousands of people who want to know what has been going on and why Channel Awesome is suddenly on fire. In the wrong way, like dumpster fire on fire. Like you put metal in the microwave on fire. They want to paint this as a picture of this is a malicious attack. Like this is an organized planned attack, and like, no. Because these stories have been around for years. This is just the first time they've all been told at the same time. And you have producers who have nothing to do with each other other than they had similar experiences with lack of communication, lies about promotions on the promoting their material on the channel, on the website. They're from different generations of the website, and yet they have the same experiences with management. This doesn't seem coordinated. This seemed, if you saw the Twitter thread the night it went up, it was all organic. Like this was all just built up. This wasn't an attack. This was just people telling stories. And here's why. Here's why I completely believe them. And this is the one thing I can add. This is the one thing I can add of any kind of validity to hashtag change the channel. I've heard these stories for years. I've heard these stories in private from friends who used to work at Channel Awesome. Some of which you know of, some you don't. But I'll tell you the stories about To Boldly Flee and how horrible the conditions were there. I've heard that for years. A lot of the lack of communication, a lot of the lies of the producers and the owners of the website. I heard all of that years ago. And from sources I trust implicitly, I have no doubt that they were up and up. But it tells me that these stories that are being told were not dreamed up a few weeks ago. It was not an organized thing to attack Channel Awesome. This was not something meant to burn the place to the ground. I sincerely believe the only thing those producers want is some kind of closure, because a lot of them were unceremoniously let go, or some left in protest to support others who were let go unfairly. And I think the only thing they really wanted was an apology. Just own up. Admit that you made these mistakes and that you regret it and that you want to do better. That's all they wanted. And that's still what they haven't been willing to give out. That's the one thing they haven't done. The closest they came to an apology was the original statement they put out, which stated, we sincerely regret you feel that way. That's not an apology. An apology is an admittance of your wrongdoing. It is owning up to your mistakes and admitting that you were wrong. Making an apology about somebody else's feelings and only about their feelings is victim blaming. It is casting the accusation back on them. They're responsible for how they feel about this situation. No, they're not. No. If you hadn't been a jerk in the first place, this wouldn't happen. I'm trying really hard not to swear right now because I'm really upset over this because a lot of my friends were hurt in this situation. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, and I'm not trying to play support group. I'm not trying to do any of that. People want to know what I thought. This is what I think. I think a lot of people were wronged by a place that didn't know how to run its own business. I think a lot of people were lied to. I think a lot of people were taken advantage of. When Mars Girl tells the story about her old videos being sent to Doug's Blip page, and the old requirement used to be you had to give your videos over. I can confirm that because I used to go to Doug's Blip page, not Channel Awesome, to see his videos. And I was so confused when I went back into the archives of that page, and there were so many videos from other people. I didn't know why Mars Girl's videos and Suede's and other producers' videos were on Doug's Blip page, because everything newer on that page was all Doug. And all the old and then the farther back you went, the more mixed up it got. So clearly, yes, they were handing over their videos at one time, which meant Channel Awesome was the one making money off of it, not the producers themselves. So when Mars Girl tells me she was never paid for those videos and the revenue that they made back then, I fully believe that. Because that was a really weird situation. That was a really weird thing for them to do. I believe it was just a lot of mismanagement and a lot of ego, thinking they would never get called out on this. I think it was hoping that they had enough star power to be believed, because it's the court of popular opinion, right? If you are the most popular, people will believe anything you say. And if you are accusing someone less popular of something, of course the less popular person must be in the wrong here. That's not always how it works. Just because you have more fans, just because you have more people backing you, does not mean you're in the right. What they presented as proof that they are not doing any wrong is flimsy at best. Most of it dodges the initial claims. Most of it dodges the accusations they are trying to prove. And a lot of it just talks in circles and doesn't actually address what it's supposed to address. One of the things they pointed out was Lindsay, the nostalgia chick. One of her videos was, her role in To Boldly Flee was, the 7 of 9 parody, and there's this scene where she gets assimilated by Mechakara, and it's a PG channel, but there's only so many ways I can explain this. It has a very rapey connotation to it. And it was something that Linkara noticed. It's something he brought up to management. It's something he brought up to Doug. And instead of going, yes, this is really horrible and this is not something you joke about, all he did was tone the joke down, it was still a rape joke. It's still not something you do. It's still wrong. They pointed out a text chat where Lindsay seemed fine with this, But all it shows is her participation in getting it to work and getting the sound. It doesn't include any of her, it conveniently cuts out any of her accusations of, well, she was disgusted by the name the character originally had, 60 of 9. It was her disapproval of the outfit she was expected to wear. And yeah, and that makes no mention of Lewis, who was the one who pointed out to her how the scene sounded, and then they point out to Doug how the scene sounds. It leaves out a long chain of events that could easily explain the situation and how it went down. You know, what they tried to prove, what they tried to post as proof, was mostly just people being more professional than them. When they post a little clip of Obscurus Lupus saying it was a fun production to work on, that was a clip for the extras section of the DVD for that movie. So of course she's going to talk it up, because that's just a professionalism. This is something you worked hard on. Talk well of it. I've done the same thing. I've had productions that I wasn't a fan of, and I wasn't that proud of, but I still speak well of them because that's my job. That was my role. So of course I'm going to speak well and try to, even if it sucked, I'm going to speak as well of it as I can to make sure it does as well as possible, because I still worked really hard on it. That's not proof that she didn't like the filming time. That's not proof that she didn't have a bad experience. Also, when a lot of the women are claiming that they were harassed or mistreated, because there are records of sites management saying, oh, there's too many women on the site. Yeah, you have no business saying, well, not all of the women were treated that way. The women we have now weren't treated that way. And the ones who are still on the site defending this, I don't believe the words of contracted people who legally are obligated to speak well of the company. Because, I'm sorry, everyone who wasn't contracted has left. Like the only people left are the ones Doug pays to stay loyal, so I don't really trust those words either. It's just a really messy situation, and it's a situation where there are only victims. That's the unfortunate thing about this. I don't want Channel Awesome to burn. I want Channel Awesome to thrive. I want it to go back to being what I thought it was going to be. The reasons I fell in love with the place in the first place. I want to see these people, these really creative people, working together. I want to see them collaborating. I want to see them growing off of each other. I don't want to see the Doug Walker and Friends show. I don't want to see the It's All About the Nostalgia Critic and then these other yokels show. That's not why I ever wanted to be at that place. And yeah, it's ugly. Yeah, that it was a really souring experience. So I really need to come clean about a few things here before we move on to the DJ TV topic. Just because there's so many regrets now. I regret trying to get picked up by this website. I regret all of the times I auditioned. I regret holding their opinion of me so personally. One reason why I never really went back to TJ TV was because of the third rejection letter, because at the time I had over 20 episodes. I had a proven audience, a proven track record of quality that was always going up, and I was producing something that wasn't available on the website. No one was a cartoon reviewer on Channel Awesome at the time. I thought I was producing something unique that they would want. And then they turned me down, and in the same hiring round picked up 3 horror movie reviewers, even though they already had Diamanda and Brad Jones basically doing B horror movie reviews all the time. Okay, so clearly you don't want people doing anything different. Okay, fine, whatever. But I do have to be honest about TJTV here. It was and some people accused me of it back then. I kind of fought against it. No, it's absolutely true. I produced the series just to get on to That Guy with the Glasses. There you go. I knew they wouldn't take in a toy reviewer. Congratulations to Vangelis being the only one who was. But I knew they wouldn't take on someone doing what I did. That making fun of bad Transformers was such a niche audience. I don't think they were ever going to pick me up based on that. I created TJTV because, yes, I have a love of old cartoons and I have a lot of knowledge about them stuffed in my head that I want to get out. But I also know that there's a certain format they want. There's a certain style of humor they want. So I tone the series toward that. I kind of do something a little bit different, but in the end, I basically do the Doug Walker thing, where I just take an episode and I just run through it. And guess what? It's very easy to just sit and watch something and riff on it and write down the jokes and tell the jokes later on to a camera. It's easy. By comparison, a Plastic Addict episode is technically harder to do than a TJTV. The hardest part about TJTV was the stuff that I really kind of wanted to talk about, the going in depth about the production, the voice actors, and all that in that first half, where I'm just kind of giving an overview of the series. I always felt like I had to get through that as fast as possible because the part that was making a real review was the riffing, was the reactionary comedy from watching through the first episode. So again, I'm crushing my own format because I'm trying to be like the Nostalgia Critic. I'm trying to be like the Channel Awesome format. And that's not what I should have done from the start. That's, if anything kept me from getting picked up, that was it. And maybe that was a blessing in disguise. But the more resentment I had toward Channel Awesome, the more I heard these stories, and the more just disenchanted I became of the place, the less I wanted to do TJTV because I knew what it represented. It represented my failure to get onto that site, and it represented my desire to be at a place where in reality it was pretty horrible. I tried so hard and worked so hard on those videos to get onto a site that would have been hell if I had stuck around. So yeah, that was that. So unfortunately that's how it goes. So the point of the video, the point of the title in this video, and if you just went to the time code I listed, thank you for joining me. I wanted to do a new TJTV. I need a TJTV that is not only YouTube appropriate, but also in my own style. Something that's different and something that is more to the point what I want it to be. Not trying to be like what is going to get picked up by a website, what's going to get me attention, what the format the kids are into. No. I need to do it the same way I did Plastic Addict. I need to do it just the way I want to do it, and if people pick up on it, great. Because that's organic, that's natural. The people who pick up on it are going to be the most into it. The people who pick up on TJTV, a lot of them pick up on it because it's kind of like the Nostalgia Critic except for cartoons. So I need a format that's more me, that's more what I want to do. And part of that is getting it YouTube appropriate to where I'm not going to get copyright strikes all the time. Something that doesn't rely on clips. Something that doesn't rely on other people's humor. All this referential stuff. References are fine when they're put in cleverly. Putting in a clip of Willy Wonka does not make me a comedic genius. It makes me a hack that's replacing 10 seconds of actual content with something else's content. Hi, Doug Walker. How you doing? So, I want to do a format that is more me, less him. And to do that, I need to completely change things up. I like producing with the green screen. I like producing the Here's 10 with the full green screen, the backgrounds, and the elaborate setup, and the really clean and polished appearance to it. But I need something that is appropriate for actual TJTV. For that, I need some kind of digital backdrop. If you see Angry Joe's set, the spaceship set with the screen in the background, it's something similar to that in my mind, but less spaceship and more dilapidated blockbuster. Like I kind of want to sit in this empty video store where I've recovered all of these old tapes of old 80s and 90s cartoons. I want something thematic. I want something that plays into the theme of TJTV and the old school stuff. And for that same reason, not only do I need this nice looking backdrop, where kind of like the Angry Joe stuff, where it doesn't look real, but it doesn't look like I'd be out of place. But I also want I want an old school like 80s 90s TV wall, like a 3x3 screen setup with like dividers. Because the trick to clips on YouTube, and you see it a lot, is trying to skew perspective, trying to skew speed, trying to obscure the image. So I think the perfect way to do that and still make it within the theme of TJTV and going back to old 80s and 90s stuff is to have that old video wall that, where it just looked like 9 TVs stacked into a cube. That's what I want. Just like like just like a hanging batch of TVs just hanging off in the corner. So this is something that, of course, like if there is a digital artist out there who can actually pull off something like this would be extremely cool. I'd probably have to do design sketches just so you have some kind of concept and whatever. This is definitely something I could go to a professional artist for. There's others that I've looked up. I've done the research and figure out who was making this, who made Angry Joe's, which I think I found the guy. The company's changed names a few times, but I think it's the right place. I could go for that route, but I figured if there's somebody who does that kind of work in my own audience base, I would rather give the job and thus the money to you out there. So, just to keep it within, because I would rather a fan help me produce this series than just go to somebody who's just doing a job. So that's what I'm after for TJTV. Hopefully someone out there can help it. Hopefully someone out there has the ability to do that for me. If not, oh well, I'll figure it out, or I'll just pay the top dollar and get someone else to do it. But either way, if TJTV is going to come back, it has to be a format that I'm in love with. It has to be a format that I can do and actually call my own and not be derivative of anything. I have to be me, and I have to do it my way, because clearly it didn't work the other way. And I have so many bad memories. I have so much bad pent up feelings for Channel Awesome now. I don't think I could ever go back to doing TJTV the way I did before. So hopefully, if that's disappointing to some of you out there who are a fan of the format the way it was before, I apologize. But there's just some things I need to do to move on from it. And if we're gonna talk about some old cartoons again, that's the way it's got to be. So that's the future of TJTV. That's the fate of it right now. It needs a complete overhaul if I'm going to be comfortable doing it again. But hopefully when it comes back, it's going to be better than it used to be. That's, the hope anyway. Of course, one always hopes that, in such situations. Whew, okay. I still have a bunch of vlog stuff to talk about. There's still a whole bunch of things that have been going through my mind lately. So I might take a breather here and sit down and shoot another one real quick. I don't know. But for now, that is what's going on with TJTV. That is what's my opinions of the change the channel movement that is going on. Yeah, it's an awful place run by awful people. And I'm sorry I ever tried to get on that site. One last thing to mention. Louis Linkara, he's not watching, but he put in a good word for me once upon a time because he liked TJTV, and we always had good conversations whenever we ran into each other. We were guesting on a podcast together one time. Very cool guy, very nice, always helpful. He put in a good word for me once upon a time, trying to help me get onto the site. I'm very appreciative of that. I'm also very appreciative that it failed. So, I guess thank you for not trying too hard, Louis. I don't know. But that's my story. So, I'll see you guys next time.